As you can see, I'm in a new locale today. I'm in Calgary visiting. I drove here yesterday and got a good picture of what's going on in small town Saskatchewan. Swift Current, I stopped at a Walmart there. My mom and dad wanted toilet paper. So again, difficulties here in Calgary obtaining that. So I stopped there, and yes, they still had a little supply left, which was great. And it was a little different though in the food section, mostly the processed food section. But even the basics like rice, sugar, flour, all of that sort of thing, pasta, really down. A lot of out of stocks. I haven't seen huge gaping holes like that in Regina yet. So that was a little bit worrisome. Um, Knowing the area and community, there are a lot of farmers there. They garden, they have food. So that is a good thing. Because we're really going to need to start cooking real food to get through this thing. Interestingly enough, last week I was doing a lot of work on nailing in where those first cases were being found in South America particularly, and Africa. And I was finding remote indigenous communities where there was extensive Chinese development that was being inhibited by people that live there and has been inhibited for many years. And I found the virus there in the most unlikely first spots in these countries. As you get onto the John Hopkins map, you will see in the United States and in Canada until today where it changed. Every city or township is depicted. So Toronto was depicted, Montreal depicted, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. Now there's just one dot for BC, one dot for Alberta, one dot for Saskatchewan hasn't got one yet, nor has Manitoba. Ontario and Quebec, all following in suit, but not showing the location. This is a worry for me. Why are they hiding that data? Because that was on there. I am on that John Hopkins map 20 times a day. Believe me, I'm all over the world looking, zeroing in on the regions and areas. And now they're not letting us, at least in Canada. In the United States, it's just the way it was. Nothing has changed. They're narrowing into communities. That's no longer happening for us Canadians, interestingly enough. As I've been on this map for a while, I've also noticed again that China's new Belt and Road Initiative partners, which is a revitalization of the original Silk Road of the day, none of them seem to have it. And if they do, it's super minimal. But there's 6, 7 countries in there that there's nothing. Even Turkey, which is very strange. So international. Opportunistic in areas like Iran, Mato Grosso, Brazil. Places where corporations have huge interests and deep, deep pockets. And that's why you know it's Agenda 2030. Because it's about shifting around communities. We have no idea what's going on the ground deep in the Amazon basin with this. And I will guarantee you that means reorganization for these people. As I came to Calgary, I'm dealing with aging parents, And due to their age, they're slightly cynical about it all. I had my mom at a point where she was actually taking me seriously before she left Ecuador. But as they traveled with their masks on, and of course they weren't the right masks because you couldn't get them, they were very careful. But as they got closer to Canada, the masks were coming off. So when they landed in Denver, only half the people were wearing them. Where they started in Guayaquil, everyone was wearing them. Then they got to Calgary and no one was wearing them. People aren't getting the impacts yet because they haven't hit us yet. For example, I went to do some errands this morning around the neighborhood and went into the bank and noticed it had scaled back a whole lot since last time I was here. And when I went in, there was only 2 girls working. So of course I said to one of the girls, "So what happens when?" And she said, "Well," she said, "the branch will close." 2 ATB, which is Alberta Treasury branches in Calgary, they closed because of 2 people. So this is how it rolls. It's time to ensure you have your pharmaceuticals that you will require for the next 2 to 3 months. Get it. The last place you want to go is to the doctor's office. You want to be prepared at home. And also be ready to self-isolate if you must. I will be keeping myself in a more isolated position best I can for the coming weeks, because there's no sense in getting caught in the drama of it all. What I'm more worried about, honestly, because I'm not elderly, it's not so much the virus. Again, I'm worried about my parents. And the fact that no one's really taking it seriously, and she's planning for Easter dinner. And I'm sort of saying, "Mom, that might not be coming to fruition this year. Most likely not." This is moving, and this is meant to reshape a lot of our world right before our very eyes. Yet miss it because we're distracted. All the misinformation that the you-know-who likes to talk about, most of it is put forth by them. It's the bloggers and the people on the ground that are actually delivering news on the situation, because the media sure aren't. They're not. They're not talking about how the shelves are emptying until it's a real thing, until it's actually a panic situation. They're going where they're told, let's just say. There's no creativity in their content or finding truth. And this is how they're going to scale down the truth. On Friday, I did a video called "China is Spying on Me." And wow, I got a comment. And it's regarding my stats. He said, "YouTube is fucking with your stats." And I went in to my stats. Now, I go into my stats a lot, but because I'm a new channel, I'm trying to learn what is working, what's not. I want to stick with Agenda 2030. And I'm learning that that's what people want, which is really cool. also check the views. And I did a video several weeks ago. Is Wuhan an accident, or is the coronavirus just a cover? That was my top video forever. And when I went deep into those stats today, it actually had jumped back. For over a week, it was sitting at 434 views, and I thought that was really weird. Why is it just sitting there doing nothing? And then this morning, I get in there, and it says I'm at 99 views. And I'm thinking, what is going on? 75% of my viewers are not subscribed. Over 55% of them, I believe, are from China. I believe I have a lot more views than I thought on everything. And it makes me know now that I'm actually making some headway, so that's super interesting. I got the confirmation I needed. And I think it's important that we keep moving on our collective truths, because there's a lot of angles to this. But right now, the primary angle is keeping safe. This is a bioweapon. It is. This is a weaponized, patented virus. It's being tossed into areas that are opportunistic to Chinese investment. Agenda 2030 goals. Corporate interest over human interest. In regions that they can't make a move, particularly with the Indigenous. I will suspect here in Canada that we are going to see a real hit taken by the Indigenous community coming up, and they really need to arm themselves. They really do. The elderly, of course, we know it's targeted at them. They're the knowledge, the history, the stories, the memories, the experience. And they don't want them around. They're not going to fit into this 2030 model. And quite frankly, nor are the Generation Xers at all. This virus doesn't seem to attack children. It's not severe. They're death. They don't die, as a general rule. When we look at what's going on in the world, we're seeing the more than emergence of the cultivation of a youth armed with green books rather than red. It's a lot of the same playbook of the Cultural Revolution. It is. Where the kids turned on their own parents for what they believed was a better path. They were led to believe that their parents had destroyed anything for them, and that the country's problems were due to the parents and their greediness. Let me assure you, what's happening now has nothing to do with the greediness of your ancestors and your parents. It doesn't. This has to do with the ultimate greediness of corporations, whose only mandate is to make money at any cost, even if it means changing the nature of our entire society to do it. If that means taking away our freedom. We need to stop looking at the world today as it is today and start looking at 2030. The technocrats are running the show here. And a lot of that's China. And who came up with communism to China and sold them on that idea? The Jews. They did. I never knew that. I didn't understand that part of the history. And it came to my attention a couple months ago where I realized what part of the story I was missing. In fact, what I believe is that at the time of communism, communist China and the emergence of Russia, communist Russia, I believe it was an unleashing of experiments around the world to try all of these ideologies and see who came out ahead. And the Chinese were the quickest to develop. The Chinese came back from all odds. They became from the underdog to here now, buying their way throughout the world. Except they had to do it with ultimate control. The corporations don't care how it's done. They just want profit. And now that they know that domination and control is actually beneficial to the corporate model, that's what they're gunning for. Why do you think there's a race for 5G right now? There is a race because this is about locking us down. Facial recognition, social credit program, just like China. If it wasn't that, why are we keeping up with them? Why? We need to ask ourselves these questions. And us people need to remember what all this means. This is our freedom. The young don't seem to understand the picking and chipping away at their freedoms because they believe technology is and convenience is ultimately most important, and they are being taught that message. Not from us. We need to look at who's teaching them the messages. Our freedom is all we have. People fight to the death in other areas of the world. I have traveled extensively to places where people, the freedom we enjoy, they've never known it. You can't know how important it is until you've lived and seen others live without it. I think we need to take a step back from this global model because it's not serving us. It is not serving the people it's supposed to be serving. It's ripping us apart and ripping our country to shreds. We talk about free healthcare in Canada. It's not free. We pay for it in our taxes. Yes, we do. Yet we can never get to the doctor. 8 months to see a specialist. It's never been this bad, people. It tells us that this path forward isn't appropriate for us. At minimum, we should be stepping back from Agenda 2030 immediately and reassessing with the input of the citizens of our respective countries, Canada, United States, UK, France, all of us, everywhere.